Hi, welcome to According to Guys. I'm Dennis,
And I'm Marcus.
and what we're doing is we have compiled a list of guys' favorite things. And we thought we'd start with the most manly, tough thing guys think about.
Disney animated films.
Yeah,
That's right.
yep. So we're just going to start this list off with The Incredibles. Your thoughts?
On Incredibles?
Yeah.
I mean, it's superheroes. Everybody loves superheroes,
Yeah.
especially guys.
Yeah,
We all want to be superheroes.
that's true. Yeah, I think this is a good one to be at 10 because it's a good movie. And the animation's good. Pixar always tells good stories. And, it is kind of a reflection of the times how superhero movies have gotten bigger. And I think it's good because, because it's Disney and it wasn't this was before Disney bought Marvel. They weren't contracted to a certain company, so they could use any power with any hero and tell any story. So that's one thing I really like about it.
That is good. Well, we'll go on to number 9. Number 9 is Tarzan. And of course, Tarzan, King of the Apes. What do you think about that, Dennis?
I like Tarzan. It's good. It's actually a movie I forgot about because it's been so long since I've watched it. But it's good. It's like I said, we got this from multiple guys. I think what did we pull, like 10, 15 guys?
It was a little more than that. I think it was around 30, actually, is what we ended up
Was
getting.
it 30?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
around 30
Okay.
guys.
Yeah, but it's not my favorite Disney movie, but it was one I forgot about. I do really enjoy it, and it is a good movie. Like, really, that's all I can say about it is how good it is. I mean, the animation's good, the story's good, the soundtrack is great. Phil Collins. I mean,
Yeah, a lot of people were crazy about the soundtrack. Tarzan itself, to me, it lacked a few things, but I can understand how a lot of guys like it. I mean, there's nobody as strong or it's really as cool as Tarzan. I mean, he lives in the jungle, and a lot of guys wish they could live in the jungle. So, I mean, I can understand it.
And side note, being an Alabama fan, it was cool that the elephants were red. I'm just saying. Moving on. Number 8, Cars. I like this movie. Once again, it's a Pixar film, so you can't really say anything bad about Pixar. Just a good movie. It's and I love the desert, like the background, the desert, like it's made up of cars, so there's a lot of really cool. Like you can just watch the background and like pick out cool stuff there, and that's really cool. And the story's great. The fact that the superstar cocky guy gets in trouble and has to make up for what he did, and then learns the importance of all his community.
Which explains every guy. All those guys, we always do things that, we shouldn't do and then have to pay for it later. But, with the movie Cars, what I think is, when you think guys, you think tools, you think sports, you think beer, you think hot wings, and you think cars. Cars is always on that list, no matter, who you're talking to. It's just a manly thing. Cars is just a manly thing, and it's not just that. I watched this as a grown man, and I enjoyed it. So most of the films that I put on my list were things from my childhood that I just, really nostalgic. So, but this is Cars. We're talking one of the more manly things that you always, associate with a man. So
yeah, no, actually, common game. Me and my friends play is our favorite movie or TV, Cars. And so I think Cars is a good reflection of that. General Lee, the Bandit, Supernatural car, even the Mystery Machine off Scooby-Doo. Cars are always something you can relate to a show or to a movie.
and Barbie and a Corvette's my car.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Now we'll move on to number 7. Number 7, one of my favorites. It's Fox and the Hound. The story of a fox and a hound that befriend each other, but the world just tells them they can't be friends. One, because the hound is born to hunt. Things like this, Fox.
My favorite Disney movie, to be 100% honest. I love this movie. I grew up with it, and I'm a hunter. My dad's a hunter, so I related to more Copper than I did Todd. But and I think it's a good metaphor for life, even though, not necessarily the world telling you can't be friends, but, you know, we've all had, you know, guys we played, or, you know, guy or girl, whatever, people we played sports with, or went to school with, or had a class with, that we were like, oh man, that's my best friend. I'm gonna be friends with this person forever. And then, you know, just down the road, like, you separate, you know, because of class schedule difference, you know, one loses interest in one thing.
Social class.
Yeah, social, you know, whatever. So I think it's a good metaphor for life in general, because I mean, it's a sad thing that you're gonna lose friends along the way. But yeah, but this is definitely my all-time favorite Disney movie, and the fight with the bears, really cool.
Yeah, and it also shows ultimately in the end how no matter, you know, how much life, you know, pulls you apart, when it comes down to it, you know, you're gonna, if it's a friend, if it's a true friend, you're gonna be there, you're gonna stick up for them like Copper did at the end with the bear, and stepping in so that, you know, his master didn't kill Todd. So
yeah.
I mean, excellent movie. Haven't seen it, need to see it.
Number 6, Hercules. Really good. Another one I kind of forgot about. That was a big common thing with this list, was we made our own list first, and then people would write in things, and we'd be like, oh yeah, I completely forgot about that. But Hercules was one of those. But I remember being a kid, and actually when McDonald's was released the toys and the Happy Meals, I actually begged my mom to go, and like, she did some weeks, did in others, but yeah, but Hercules is, I love Hercules. It's a great movie, and it's really good. You know, it's not the best Disney movie, but it is one of my childhood favorites, without a doubt.
And it's one of those things too, I mean, every young boy, I think, wishes that he had superpowers, super strength.
Yeah.
I mean, if nothing else, super strength. I mean, every guy, every boy, every man wishes they had super strength, so that they can take care of their family, take care of their, you know, whatever, take care of everything. And then women also look at a guy who's all built up and everything. But Hercules, I mean, he's a man's man. You know, he does it all. He woos the women. He beats up on all the monsters, protects the people who can't protect themselves. And I mean, what can be more manly than that?
Well, and one thing about it, you know, I liked about it too, is it showed the struggle he had to learn. He had to learn himself before, like, he didn't start off a hero. He had to go train, and you know, and I think that's something, you know, of course, that's something everybody goes through, whether you know, sports, or you join the military, or whatever, you know, or just going to work. You know, like every day, you know, you start off a job, you know, you don't know what entails on that job, and you know, and you got to learn. Now, mind you, you might be the best, you know, truck driver, accountant, plumber, professional athlete, whatever, but you had to start, you know, at the bottom, and Hercules did. You know, he almost gets beat up by the Centaur. You know, pulls the fish out of the water instead of a sword. You know, so that's one thing I liked about it, and you see that a lot in movies now, like especially with the superhero movies and the origin stories, like, you know, they're go web, you know, like, so you see that a lot, but still, I really liked it in Hercules. One thing that made the character more relatable.
Right. We'll move on to number 5. Number 5 is The Jungle Book. Now, The Jungle Book is one, you know, I saw when I was very young, and it's one that I really like. It's not my top 10, but, you know, definitely my top 20. I mean, we as young boys and stuff, this young boy gets lost in the wilderness and has animals as friends. I mean, I don't know about most of y'all, but I used to always love running around with the dogs, and you know, I wished I could talk to animals and, you know, hang out with them, but, you know, it wasn't something I could do in reality. But with The Jungle Book, I could do that, and I could, you know, I could see myself as Mowgli. So,
Well, one thing, you know, about this movie, I think why it lasts is, you know, I think every boy, man, whatever, you know, you see survival shows on TV all the time now. So I think, you know, Mowgli's just the kind of the ultimate, what if it worked? You know, ultimate fantasy fascination with that was, what if as a boy, you know, the man cub, you could go out and it actually worked, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, talking to animals, of course, helps.
right.
But, you know, I think that's, you know, it's just an extension of that, you know.
Which is a little surprising to me that it, you know, hit a little higher than Tarzan, because, I mean, basically, there's a lot of parallels in the story.
Right.
They both made the top 10 because, you know, it's men in the woods with animals and,
Common
know,
theme there.
right, Tarzan's big and strong, and it's just kind of, you know, the little boy version of it, and that's why I was a little surprised to see it above Tarzan, so.
Yeah. All right. Number 4, Toy Story. Toy Story really means a lot to me because the entire trilogy, I think it's three of them, was made almost parallel my generation. The first one came out when I was very young. I don't remember exactly what age. And the second one came out, you know, I think when I was like 12, and the third one came out when I was like 18, so maybe 19. But it was one of those movies where literally my life paralleled Andy's. So like growing up, your favorite toys, you know, and you know they mean a lot to you. And then you grow up a little bit more, and you still got your toys, but they're not as present. And then in the third one, when he gives them away, you know, I know what that felt like, you know, and everybody does, you know, like you talk about with friends all the time, you're like, oh man, I used to have this BB gun, and I took that thing everywhere with me, you know, or whatever your toy was, or you know, I had a football all the time. But, you know, that's one reason that I really love Toy Story.
Toy Story to me, I mean, it's another one that I guess I was a little bit older when I saw it for the first time, but I really enjoyed it as well. And of course, it was kind of groundbreaking the way they did all the animation and everything using the computers, and I know there was a big deal about that. But the one thing that kind of I actually was thinking, you know, why is Toy Story number 4? Because, you know, it did come out a little later. A lot of the guys we polled were a little older, and I was kind of curious at why they had thought that way. And I got thinking about it, and, you know, the main two characters, a cowboy and astronaut.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what every boy, when they're little, you know, I say every boy, most boys want to be either a cowboy or an astronaut when they're little. And I know the astronaut thing was something that was a little bit, you know, even before my time. I wasn't much into wanting to be an astronaut, but, you know, playing, you know, cowboys all the time when I was little, having my little 6-shooter on my side, you know, it's just one of those things that I think every man, you know, just kind of, even when they're a child, may want to be a cowboy, but even as an adult, we kind of want to be, you know, thought of like a cowboy's thought of, just a man's man who works with his hands, who can, you know, round up the cows, who can manhandle beasts, you know, that's kind of my thoughts on Toy Story. I think it's just one of those things that every guy just kind of is like, you know, I like that movie, I love toys, but I always wanted to be those two things, so.
Well, and I think, you know, those, especially in the first one, they're very relatable, both the characters, you know, Woody and Buzz, because, you know, in the second one they become closer friends, in the first one they're very different, and I think it's kind of even early on it was a metaphor for growing up. Woody knew what he was. Buzz was naive and still thought he was an actual astronaut. So,
Right.
you know, I think that's just a metaphor once again for just growing up.
Right. Well, coming in number 3, this was my all-time favorite. Something that I saw when I was very young, and it's been my favorite since I was young, and it is Robin Hood. And maybe it's because there's been so many Robin Hood movies made, even adult movies, that I just continually love this story. I mean, I like the one with Kevin Costner. I even like Men in Tights because it's funny, you know, they made it funny. And then I also like the Robin Hood with Russell Crowe. A little different take, but I still liked it. But in this film, I think most of us guys, we like, you know, be thought of to have, you know, kind of that, you know, bad streak, that rough streak, but we don't really want to be completely bad. And that's kind of how Robin Hood is, you know, he goes and he does steal, but it's in order to give to those who can't do for themselves. And, you know, that makes him a hero and have that little bit of a rebel streak in him, and I think that's part of the reason that I love it so much, and a lot of guys love it as well.
Once again, same thing for me. I grew up watching this movie, and one of my all-time favorites. And I agree with you. And one thing about Robin Hood, particularly the Disney version, well, every version really, uh, you still see him like characters who are almost copies, like Guardians of the Galaxy. Look at Star-Lord, the good-hearted outlaw, which is exactly what Robin Hood is. In almost every telling and retelling of a Robin Hood story, he's an outlaw, but he's a good guy. Like, and the only reason he's an outlaw is because he's really, well, he steals, yes, and he's loyal to the old king, and the new king doesn't like it. And I think that's something that everybody wants to be, just to have that kind of, you know, I want to, no matter what comes, this is what I believe in, this is what I stand for, and if if you don't like it, tough, and if I have to knock you off a little bit, then I'm going to do it. And you know, and you see that everywhere, but I think it works. Robin Hood, I kind of think was like the archetype for that, at least in my life, like kind of probably one of the first examples that I ever saw. Number 2, Aladdin. It's a great movie. This is another one I grew up on. It's been so long since I've seen it. I'm having to kind of like recall in my mind, like, but it's one of those original movies. Like this one, I'm not gonna lie, this one wasn't on my list, I don't think, but it's one of those that it just is really good. And unfortunately, I don't have a lot to say about it. I should have watched some of these before we did this, but it's one of those, I'm trying to recall it more, but at the end of the day, great movie, and one of those, it almost, if you haven't seen it, you should see it, and it's one of those where it kind of speaks for itself, and if you have seen it, which I think most of us have, you really don't need me to talk about it to tell you how good it is and its good points. It's kind of all there, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm going to pass it off to Marcus.
Well, it's one of those things, it's a rags to riches story. I mean, everybody, a lot of people I know, you know, and not just the people I know everybody has their problems where they're down and out, and nobody starts off, you know, with everything they want, but in this, you know, he's just what they call a street rat, you know, he has a prince call him a street rat, and he goes from being nothing to finding a genie, which is pretty cool, and becoming everything he ever dreamed of. Now, was he stupid like most guys are and squandered everything that he had on these silly wishes that he had? Yeah, he was. But the thing is when it comes out at the end, you know, his true colors shine forth when he stops thinking so much about the money. And you know, it's one of those. I'm actually surprised to see it as high as it is on the guys' list, but I also understand it's one of Disney movies that focuses on a young boy who gets the hot girl, who gets all the money, who becomes a prince. I mean, it's kind of a, you know, a feel-good story for us guys, and not to mention Robin Williams, who, you know, just passed away, you know, which was hard. You know, it was kind of a tough thing to take, you know, and but he's in it. I mean, funny guy, great voice. The music was great in the movie, and I mean, it was just, that was, like you said, all around. It had all the pieces, and they just made a good film with it. And like you said, you should see it if you haven't. And now we'll go on to number 1, which I was not surprised at all.
Yeah, this is a no-brainer here.
I think every list had this on it, and that was rare. And this is The Lion King.
Yeah.
And I mean, what is it? There's father-son. There's spirituality. There's losing yourself, finding yourself, and there's a total BA bad guy. I mean, he's just as rough and as tough as they get. And
If I can interrupt, when you literally compare him to Hitler, like he gets compared to Hitler in that movie, and it still works, how much better can you get?
well, I mean, yeah, I mean, he had his little hyenas, his little, you know, go do it dog was just marching, doing whatever he wanted. I mean, he's an ultimate bad character, and you know, he was the brother of the king, and I mean, it's just a great story. It's one of those that most guys I've talked to said that they got a
us have brothers, and if you don't have a brother, then maybe it's not as, you can't relate to this, but yeah, I think that's kind of the ultimate betrayals was if your brother turned on you, if you had to, you know,
Right.
convict your brother almost, you know, if your brother hated you, you know, and all brothers fight, but one common theme you see in all these movies, and I've said it several times growing up, he's hinted at it, is they're growing up stories, and you know, and I think that's what really sells this movie and what makes this movie great, and you know, because we can all relate to Simba. I mean, as a kid, Dewey-eyed dreamer, and supposed to inherit the kingdom, and then you know, losing it and having to go, basically goes to college in a way, or you know,
School of life.
school of life, and he goes off and basically gets two fraternity brothers, Timon and Pumbaa, and you know, and kind of loses himself. But in all cases, you know, you can't run from your past, and no matter where you go, college, work, go work in another state, you know, military, you're gonna run into someone you used to know, you used to work with, you used to hang out with, and I think The Lion King shows that. Like it's you know, how did you find me all the way out here? And you see that literally directly in The Lion King. And then, you know, and it's also the prodigal son returning story. Like it's coming back and taking, you know, I guess you'd say what's his.
Rightful place.
Rightful place, yeah. But you know, once again, I'm not surprised at all. The Lion King was on number one. It honestly it deserves it.
Yeah.
It kind of deserves its spot. That's, you know, there's really nothing bad I can say about this movie. To be 100% honest.
That's right. So, I'm just going to run back down through them real quick. It's 10, The Incredibles. Number 9, Tarzan. 8, Cars. 7, Fox and the Hound. 6, Hercules. 5, Jungle Book. 4, Toy Story. 3, Robin Hood. 2, Aladdin. And number 1, The Lion King. Now, do you have any honorable mentions you want to say?
Honorable mentions, The Bug's Life, and even though it's not credited, it's one of my favorites. Just because one reason is because it's based on The Magnificent Seven, which is a great western. If you haven't seen it, see The Magnificent Seven. Actually, go get both of them. Watch The Magnificent Seven, then watch The Bug's Life back to back, and you'll totally see it. And so yeah, A Bug's Life. I'm gonna keep it A Bug's Life.
Alright, and you know, I'll just stick to one honorable mention, and I'm gonna say Wreck-It Ralph, just because a lot of guys nowadays don't watch cartoons, especially the grown people we're around. They don't watch cartoons, but Wreck-It Ralph, if you watch it, I want you to comment on how much Dennis looks like Wreck-It Ralph, because Wreck-It Ralph looks a lot like Dennis, and it's just a good story.
I haven't seen
And
Wreck-It Ralph.
it's about video games, which most of us guys like, and you know, just fitting in. So I would suggest watching that. And I'm also, before we go and give them the girls
Yeah, the ladies list. Yeah.
I want you to give them, just so people know that we do watch the princess movies.
Yeah, we definitely, you know, we were both talking about it. And on every list, every guy's list we got, princess movies were on all of them, so don't be watching this and think you're too macho not have a favorite. All right. I'm not gonna lie, mine's Brave. I'm Scotch-Irish heritage, so I really related to it. And I'm gonna give you two, actually. Sleeping Beauty, just because, one, the villain's awesome, and it's just a good story. And but no, Brave and Sleeping Beauty, those are really good movies, and you know, but just to show you we're not being like, trying to be like, oh, all the time, you know. But yours?
Well, mine is just, it's Beauty and the Beast. I mean, I don't really know what to say except for the fact that it was just a good movie. I mean, it was up for multiple awards and everything. I'm sure everybody knows that. But, you know, it has one of the hottest princesses, and the Beast is just huge, and it has one of the most manly men in all these Disney films in Gaston.
Gaston, yeah.
Eating all them raw eggs, hunting anything, and he goes after the beast like the beast is nothing, you know. And
Almost gets a drop on him
yeah,
at the end of that.
and
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, he's a hunter, you know.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier on, a man's man. That's what Gaston was. And but I mean, it's just a good movie, and it's one that I still enjoy to watch with my daughter. So, but that would be the princess movie, I would say. And now we're just gonna go through. We polled a few girls, and
We pulled some ladies. We decided if we were gonna do it, the guys, we needed to at least have a few.
well, to show the difference. To
Show the difference, and yeah. So here's the ladies list.
So the ladies list goes like this, starting from 10. We have Up, and then Peter Pan, and then there's Tarzan, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Cars, Finding Nemo, Brave, Frozen, and Tangled. So, I mean, those, a lot more of your princess movies. Some of them, parallel with guys, and just shows you some of the movies that, both men and women, enjoy to watch. So, and of course, they had some other things on some of the lists, like Tinkerbell and Snow White. Believe it or not, we had some guys that had Snow White on there. I'm not trying to judge or nothing, but I'm just saying. But that pretty much, that's what the girls had on theirs, and I mean, you can kind of see how it's different. I mean, those are focused towards girls.
And what on earth is Sky Castle? Castle in the Sky. What is that? Please tell me, because I have no idea. Someone called in with that. Two people.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what that is.
But that pretty much concludes what we got this time.
Leave us a comment with your list and tell us what you thought.
What you agree with, what you disagree with,
Yeah, and
what we can do.